For more than 2 years, the Fifth Estate has been investigating what happened at the border blockade in Coutts, Alberta.
I hope every border in Canada is blocked.
There's no excuses. This is war.
You might remember this as a trucking convoy that rallied against COVID-19 mandates and blocked traffic at a US-Canada border for about 2 weeks. A judge recently found that 2 protesters had armed themselves for a potential shootout with police. Some of the police evidence couldn't be made public until the trial was over. Now, we have exclusive access. What we obtained shows that the 2 protesters' actions were fueled by conspiracy theories and extremist beliefs.
When the elites win, we all lose, and we'll all be in a concentration camp then. Just like it was in Germany.
One of the most interesting parts of our investigation was the more than 13 hours of police interrogation video that we had a chance to review. The man you see in that video is Tony Olenek. He's one of 2 men convicted and sentenced to 6.5 years in prison for his involvement in the blockade. During the protest, Olenek and another man, Chris Carbert, stayed in this RV in the village of Coutts. Police later raided that RV and a nearby home and seized several firearms. 13 long guns, handguns, tactical gear, ammunition, and more. Police accused Olenek and Carbert of conspiring to murder officers, but that charge didn't hold up at trial. Instead, a jury found the men guilty of a firearms offense and mischief, and a judge accepted that verdict as proof that the men were prepared for a firefight with police. In interviews with police, Olenek and Carbert said they saw the pandemic as possibly leading to an inevitable collapse of society, and said they believed their way of life was under threat from the Canadian government and a global network of elites.
They want to break the middle class, Andy, and you are in the middle class, I am in the middle class.
I'm probably too deep down the rabbit hole, but it scares me just from seeing all these elites doing what they're doing.
They had underlying sentiments and positionalities that were far-flung from what the average protester there might have felt. There were folks in society who didn't like the vaccination mandate, who had anti-government beliefs. But I think the average member of the public would draw a line once you start gathering firearms to take on the police.
Many insisted the men were wrongfully accused, heroes, even political prisoners. From your perspective, the arrests were not because of a public safety threat. They were because of what?
Political. They wanted to shut this down. Somebody wants you locked up or trumped up charge, they can do it.
While the RCMP were interviewing both men, they got court permission a few days later to raid Olenek's property south of Calgary. This is where they found Olenek's journal. It gave them a window into his mind. He wrote about building a bunker, a coming apocalypse, and a 1,000-day war against Satan. They also found a stockpile of firearms and tactical gear. In this wooden box, 2 pipe bombs. Scattered across the property, more than 36,000 rounds of ammunition.
36,000 rounds is an astronomical amount of ammunition. That's the preppers holding off the army coming their way.
The men said they were only there to defend, not attack.
You will not find anything that's planning on doing something. I can guarantee you that.
Our work on this case hasn't been easy. Navigating the courts is always difficult, and key evidence couldn't be published to protect the men's right to a fair trial. It was a complex legal minefield. We've repeatedly tried to get interviews with both men since their arrest and the conviction, but both declined. Olenek and Carbert have appealed their convictions and sentences. But just before our episode aired, Carbert called us from prison. He claimed his conviction is part of an elaborate setup by authorities. This sort of conspiracy theory and distrust of government is exactly what experts we spoke to warn of. They say this case reveals the dangers of extremist ideologies and their potential for violence, and how something that used to be niche and in the corner of the internet is now more seemingly mainstream.
This case provides a glimpse into kind of a scary future for us, that if we don't get a handle of online self-radicalization and extremism, people's lives are at risk.